There are players who win games. There are players who change games. And then, once in a very long while, there is a player who makes you forget the game entirely. A player who makes you stop whatever you are doing, lean forward in your seat, and just watch. Not because you want to see the result, not because you are waiting for the final score, but because what is happening in front of your eyes feels too extraordinary to be real. Ronaldinho Gaucho was that player, and for a stretch of time that football fans will spend the rest of their lives trying to describe, he was simply the best there has ever been with a football at his feet. This is not a debate. This is not a ranking. This is a story about skill, about what it means to be so technically gifted, so naturally expressive, so completely free with a football that defenders stopped trying to read you and started simply hoping you would make a mistake. And the cruelest part of it all was that Ronaldinho almost never made mistakes. Not when it truly mattered. Not when the crowd was watching. Not when the moment called for something special. To understand what made Ronaldinho's skill so different from everyone else's, you have to go back to where it all began. Porto Alegre, Brazil, a city in the south of the country that breathes football the same way it breathes air. Ronaldinho grew up playing on the streets, on futsal courts, on dusty patches of ground where the rules were simple, and the only currency that mattered was creativity. In that environment, skill was not just a tool, it was a language, and Ronaldinho learned to speak it more fluently than any child anyone had ever seen. By the time he was a teenager, the stories were already spreading. People would gather just to watch him train, not to watch the whole session, just to watch him. The way he received the ball was different. The way he turned was different. The way he thought 3 steps ahead while everyone else was still processing the first one, that was something nobody had a name for yet. It was only later, when the whole world had seen it for themselves, that people started calling it genius. His early career at Grêmio gave glimpses of what was to come, but it was at Paris Saint-Germain where the European game first got a real look at what Ronaldinho could do. And even then, even in those early Paris years, defenders would come away from games against him looking confused. Not tired, not frustrated, confused. Because nothing he did followed the rules they had spent their careers learning. He would receive the ball facing the wrong way and somehow end up facing the right way. He would fake a pass so convincingly that the goalkeeper would dive, and the ball had not even left his foot yet. He was playing a different game to everyone else on the pitch, and he was playing it beautifully. Then came Barcelona, and everything changed. The Barcelona years were something that football had not seen before and has not seen since. From the moment Ronaldinho arrived at Camp Nou in the summer of 2003, he transformed not just a football club, but the entire mood of the game. Barcelona had been struggling. The identity of the club, that famous attacking soul, had gone quiet. And then this smiling, dreadlocked Brazilian arrived and turned the volume all the way back up. He did not just play football at Barcelona. He performed it. Every training session, every preseason game, every league match and Champions League night felt like an event when Ronaldinho had the ball. Think about the skill moves alone. The elastico, that whipping inside flick that changes direction so fast the eye genuinely cannot follow it, was something he had been doing since he was a child. But watching him perform it at full speed against experienced professional defenders in the middle of a competitive match was like watching someone break a law of physics. The defender would set himself, reading the outside move, committed to the outside. And then the ball would somehow be on the other side, and Ronaldinho would already be gone. Not running away, gliding away, with that enormous smile spreading across his face. And then there was the no-look pass, the heel pass, the chest control that killed the ball completely, as if the ball had simply decided to stop and wait for him. The outside of the boot cross delivered with surgical precision from 40 yards. The free kick that would dip and swerve so violently that goalkeepers would simply watch it go in and stand there, unable to explain what had just happened. Each of these things on their own would have made a player memorable. Ronaldinho did all of them in the same game, sometimes in the same minute, and he did them while smiling. The smile deserves its own conversation, because it was not a performance. It was not something Ronaldinho put on for the cameras. It was genuine. It was the smile of someone who was exactly where he was supposed to be, doing exactly what he was born to do, and loving every single second of it. Defenders hated that smile, not because it was disrespectful, but because it meant he was comfortable. It meant he was enjoying himself. It meant whatever they were doing to stop him was not working. And he knew it, and he did not mind them knowing it too. The 2004 to 2005 season was perhaps the peak of it all. Ronaldinho was named the FIFA World Player of the Year. Barcelona were running through La Liga like nothing could touch them. And Ronaldinho was the reason, not the only reason, but the main reason. The undeniable, undisputable, everybody in the stadium watching reason. He finished that season with 13 league goals and an almost incomprehensible number of assists. But statistics never told the real story with Ronaldinho. The real story was in the moments that made commentators lose their composure in 6 different languages at once. There is one night that everyone who was watching will remember for the rest of their lives. The Bernabeu, November 2005. Barcelona versus Real Madrid, and Ronaldinho, in the home of their greatest rivals, put on a performance so extraordinary, so completely breathtaking, that the Real Madrid fans did something they had never done before and have never done since. They applauded him. They gave a Barcelona player a standing ovation at the Bernabeu, because what he was doing was so far beyond anything they had prepared themselves to witness that anger could not survive it. Only awe could. He scored 2 goals that night. The first was a chest control and thunderous finish that showed his power. The second was a dribble and finish that showed everything else. But it was not just the goals. It was the way he moved all night. The way he looked for the most difficult solution when the easy one was right there. The way he invited defenders to come at him, welcome the challenge, and then dance through it. That night, Ronaldinho was not just the best player on the pitch. He was the best player any of those people had ever seen with their own eyes. His skill was rooted in something deeper than technique, though. Technique can be trained. What Ronaldinho had went beyond training. It was intuition, an almost supernatural ability to feel the movement of the game before it happened, to know where space was going to open half a second before it did, to place the ball in a position that made no sense until you saw what happened next, and then it was the only position that made any sense at all. Great players see the game 1 step ahead. Ronaldinho seemed to see it 3 steps ahead, while somehow still being fully present in the step that was actually happening. And he made his teammates better. That is the detail that sometimes gets lost when people talk about skill. Ronaldinho's skill was not selfish. He used it to create, to open space, to pull defenders so far out of position that teammates who were ordinary players suddenly found themselves with extraordinary opportunities. Deco, Eto'o, Juli, Messi in those early years, they all benefited from what Ronaldinho brought to every single match. He was generous with his genius, and that generosity was part of what made him so special. And that is what Ronaldinho leaves behind. Not just the goals and the trophies and the individual awards, though there were plenty of all 3. What he leaves behind is a feeling that football can be something more than a competition, that it can be an art form, that a man with a football at his feet, given enough freedom and enough courage and enough love for the game, can produce something that no one in the stadium will ever forget, something that will be replayed and rewatched and talked about for decades after the final whistle has gone. There have been more efficient players than Ronaldinho. There have been more consistent players than Ronaldinho. But there has never been a player who made the game look more joyful, more alive, more like something worth staying up late to watch, worth driving across the city to see, worth telling your children about years later so they understand what they missed. Ronaldinho did not just play football. He reminded everyone watching why they fell in love with football in the first place. And in a world that sometimes takes the game too seriously, that strips it down to numbers and systems and marginal gains, that reminder is worth more than any trophy. It is worth everything. Because at its very best, football is not about winning. It is about that moment. That single, perfect, impossible moment when a man receives the ball, surveys the world in front of him, and decides to do something nobody else would have even thought to try. That was Ronaldinho. That will always be Ronaldinho. And as long as there are people who love this game, that smile will never really disappear.